So in this video, we're going to be taking a TanStack query or React query, which is a powerful asynchronous state management tool that is popularly used in React and Next.js, AngularJS and Vue.js. And we will be installing this in Create React App application and looking at some of the core features. So here, if you go to the documentation, this is the command to install it from npm. So let's go ahead and do just that. Create a new application using create react app and do this npm I tanstack react query. Once that's done, go into app.js and remove the initial boilerplate code. So we will need to create another component. So let's go ahead and create a new file and call it example.js and rac to get the initial react boilerplate. Now let's go back to app.js and import the example component just like this. An example component, let me just type something in the div so that we know how it works. And here if you run the app, we can see that react query tut is printed on the screen. Now let us go back to app.js and import query client and let's see query client provider. Okay, now what we'll be doing is we'll need to wrap this example component, and before that let us just initialize our query client by saying const query client is equal to new query client. Okay, we need that when we are trying to wrap the example component with the query client provider. So this is how react context actually works. And if you need a detailed video on how react context works, I think I've covered it in one of my videos, but if you drop a comment, I will make a separate video about it. So wrap the component with query client provider and give the client param as query client. Okay, this is all you have to do. And for the API call, I'm going to create a mock API for now just to show how it works. And here I have created a array of objects with each object having similar properties of id, title and name. You can give it whatever name you want, or you can have how many attributes as you would like. Now I'm going to create a function that will actually return us or actually fetches the data. So from my component, when I try to fetch data, I'll be using this fetch data, and this will be an asynchronous method, and which will so I don't think we can use type annotation because we are not using TypeScript in our project. But yeah, I think I'll have to remove this. It'll be an async function, and what this will do is initially let us first have a set timeout. So for that, let us write a simple await new promise resolve and this will be set timeout of resolve comma 1000. So 1 second this will await before going to the next step. And console.log, let's say data is fetched, and here what we can do is we can say const filter data is equal to do. So to do's is the sample data that we have created above, and we'll filter that according to. So this fetch data will actually take an optional param, and we'll filter the to do's based on that param. If that param is empty, we will return all the to do's. So for example, okay, let us first return all the to do's. Dot includes query dot to lowercase. That's it, very simple. Now we just need to return this. Return filter data. Now let's create a method for adding data. So this will append whatever object we are passing into this to do's. So this will also await a new promise and set timeout 1000, and here we should say resolve. We are basically resolving the promise, and the code execution will continue. And here we will say const new data is equal to an object which will have id as todos dot length plus 1 for demonstration purposes. We don't need to create new id. Title we'll have, so we can give to do's. Here it should take a param. Let's call it to do dot title. Okay, and name will be to do dot name. And how we are adding data is we are just doing to do's dot push. To do's dot push new data. This will append that object with the array of objects in to do's, and maybe we can return the added data just like this. Okay, now back to example.js. Let us import use query from TanStack React query, and we will say const query is equal to use query, and basically it will take two arguments. The first is the query function. Now what is our query function? Our query function is nothing but the fetch data we have defined in the API index file, right? We have created a mock API. So fetch data and the query key. So query key should be something like to do's. Okay, and this React query will do a lot of stuff with to do's, which is that particular name. Basically it is used for caching purposes. Okay, let's destructure that like above, and we will say if it's loading, we will return a div saying that it's loading, and here we will display the list of to do items. So what we'll do, to do's dot map return that particular element. Let's display the title and name just like this. See, it's actually pretty easy if you follow this way. And it's not just when we're using the direct fetch. So here you can see when we are loading, it is going to loading and then just displaying the data. Now we can also use mutations along with this. So we will need to import use mutation from TanStack React query, and we will say const mutation is equal to use mutation, and this will have some parameters. The important one being mutation function, which is nothing but add data, which we will import from API dot slash API. Okay, and let's destructure the mutation, which will have mutate and mutate async. For now we'll be using mutate async, and we will point it to add to do mutation. Okay, basically just calling out that. Now let us have a few input fields and some state variables so that we can add data and demonstrate how the mutation is working. So we'll have a title and set title use state empty. Similarly, we'll have name, set name, use state empty, just like this. And we need to take the input from the user, and for that we will have to create two input fields and a submit button. So back to the template, we will create a div. Inside that, let's create an input with type text. Now we need the on change. So on change, what will happen? We'll have to populate, we'll have to point it to the state variable. So on change e set title e dot target dot value, and why is there a syntax error? Value will be title. There is some syntax. I think I missed a bracket. E dot target dot value. Okay, should come outside that. Okay, now it's fine. Value will be title. Let's me copy that, paste that below. Type text on change, set name, e dot target dot name, value name, Okay, and then we might also need a submit button. So button with on click equals, what will be, it will be add to do mutation, because we have defined that above, right? So it will be async, and this async method, let's put a try catch block over here for error handling, because since it's an asynchronous function, we don't know what to expect. So it's always a good practice to catch errors on these types of methods. So we will await add to do mutation, and we'll take an empty object, but not just empty object. This we need to pass few values, we need to pass the object, and for that, let me go back. See, it's taking an object, and the properties are taken from that object. So let me pass here title and name, just like this. It should ideally work if it's like this. And catch. Okay, before that, we will set title to empty and set name to empty. And in the catch block, let's catch the error console.error of E. That's it. Now let's see how this works. Okay, so here it should be e.target.value and not target.name. Once done that, we can actually run. Okay, here what is the problem? Okay, we need to import use query client. So import query client. Okay, okay. So here you can see that in the mutation we need to do one more thing. So in the on success, right, when we add the values in the input, we need to update the list. So we can do so by saying in the on success we have to say what we'll have to say. Okay, that's not how it should be written. It should be a colon. Okay, so inside the on success, what we need is query client dot invalidate queries. Inside that, we have to give an array of to dos. That's all we really need to do. One thing we have to do is we have to give this as a string. So here, let me show you. If we add here test2 and here test3 and add data, you can see that this list is being fetched and added to the list dynamically. So this is a great example of how we can do such a thing with use query. And let me demonstrate some of the caching properties. So here let me quickly define use state variable in the name of search, and let me specify the query key being the search. Okay, and we'll see how React query is actually caching this. I'll show you, like when we reload the page and when we show hide the component, this will. So here you can see that it's being, the loading is being shown, but here if I toggle this, the loading is not shown, right? So I'm unfortunately there is no recording of the caching again, but I believe you guys have seen that. That's all for this video. I think you have learned something about React query. If you have anything, please leave something down in the comments. Till then, I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.